Imagine for a second that you've spent, I don't know, 2 years building a new software platform.
Right.
And it's flawless. I mean, the code is elegant, the user interface is beautiful, and you are ready to launch tomorrow.
It's the dream scenario.
Yeah, but today, right now, you have to log into your website's backend, stare at this completely blank white box, and type in a dollar amount.
Oh, that is terrifying.
It really is. And that single number, that one little decision, will dictate whether you build a billion-dollar unicorn or, whether you just go bankrupt in 6 months.
It is arguably the absolute highest stakes moment in business. And yet it's the one most founders are just entirely unprepared for.
Exactly. I mean, when we think of business processes, we expect this kind of engineering precision, right? You write the code, the application functions.
Yeah, there's a logic to it.
But the second you step into the world of monetization, that precision just completely vanishes. It feels like you are navigating in the dark.
And, that darkness creates fear. So often, pricing is treated as this downstream accounting afterthought, like something you just figure out right before you hit publish.
Just throw a number at the wall and see what sticks.
Right, exactly. But in reality, pricing is the steering wheel of your entire go-to-market strategy.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are building a complete, definitive masterclass on how to price your first offering.
It's a huge topic.
Massive. We are going to cover everything. From that literal day one baseline calculation when you have 0 customers, all the way up to negotiating multi-million-dollar global enterprise contracts.
And we are incredibly fortunate because our entire playbook today comes from a really world-class source.
Yes, we are unpacking the renowned pricing masterclass developed by Dr. Shishir Gupta.
He's the founder and CEO of Startup Planes. And just for some context for you listening, the Startup Planes ecosystem is massive. I mean, it spans 56 cities across 15 countries.
Yeah, and Dr. Gupta brings this incredibly unique multidisciplinary lens to the whole thing. I mean, he holds a PhD in venture capital, a law degree in corporate law, and an MBA in finance.
He's kind of seen it all.
He really has. He has advised over 1,000 businesses globally and facilitated, I think, over 111 million in funding. So he sees the architecture of a business from literally every possible angle.
So to set the stage here, we have to look at how Dr. Gupta frames that exact moment of fear you mentioned earlier, staring at the blank box on the website.
The dreaded blank box.
Right. He notes, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but he says that pricing is not a static operational task. It is the fundamental core of your go-to-market strategy.
Yeah.
And when you underprice out of fear, you inadvertently tell the market that your solution lacks significant utility.
Okay, wait, let's unpack this. Underpricing out of fear. Because I think every creator or founder has felt that exact instinct.
Oh, absolutely.
You think, if I make it super cheap or even free, everyone is going to buy it and I'll just win on volume.
The classic volume trap.
Right, but Dr. Gupta is saying that actually backfires on you.
Precisely. Because your initial price sets the psychological standard for how the market measures the value of your work.
I see.
Like, if you walk onto a car lot and you see a brand new luxury sports car priced at, $5,000, you don't think, wow, what a great deal.
No, you think, what is wrong with the engine?
Exactly. Underpricing creates suspicion, not adoption.
So it's not about tricking the user or anything. It's about aligning your price with the exact value you deliver.
Right.
But, before we can actually set a specific dollar amount for a new product, I feel like we need to understand what a price actually is in the grand scheme of human behavior.
Oh, for sure. We have to look at the canon of price theory.
Yeah. Where does price theory even begin?
Well, if we trace the lineage, it basically begins in 1776 with Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations.
The classic.
Yeah. Smith laid the groundwork by separating price into 2 distinct categories. You have the natural price and the market price.
Okay, break those down for me.
So the natural price is essentially the cost of production. It's what it costs in labor, rent, and materials to just bring a good to the market.
Right.
The market price, however, is driven by short-term supply and demand.
So, if demand spikes because everyone suddenly wants a specific item like toilet paper a few years ago, the the market price shoots up way high above that baseline natural price.
Exactly. But Smith argued that when that happens, those excess profits attract more capital and more competition to the market.
Oh, because everyone wants a piece of those margins.
Right. And that expands the overall supply, which eventually drives the market price right back down to the natural price, the baseline cost.
Wait, I have to push back here, though.
Go for it.
Because if classical economics says price eventually drops to the cost of production, why do modern software startups have like 80 or 90% gross margins?
It's a great point.
I mean, a software subscription costs maybe 2 cents in cloud server space to host, but companies charge hundreds of dollars a month for it. Why hasn't Smith's invisible hand crushed those margins down to zero?
That is the perfect question. And to answer it, we have to move forward in time a bit and layer in Alfred Marshall's Principles of Economics from 1890.
Okay.
He formalized the concept of price elasticity. But more importantly for your question, we have to look at Edward Chamberlain's 1933 theory of monopolistic competition.
Monopolistic competition? That sounds like a total oxymoron.
It really does, right? But it explains the modern economy perfectly.
How so?
Well, Chamberlain argued that real-world markets aren't perfect commodities where everyone sells the exact same thing.
Right.
But they aren't pure monopolies either.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about bottled water.
Yeah.
Water is essentially a free commodity.
Right. You get it out of the tap.
But if you put it in a sleek square bottle, branded as sourced from some virgin aquifer in Fiji, and call it Fiji water, you have completely differentiated the product.
Ah, you bend the demand curve.
Exactly. Fiji water escapes commoditization through a brand differentiation. And that gives them the right to price high above marginal cost.
So software does this through proprietary features, user experience, network effects.
Right. But there's another layer here. What about the massive existential risk a founder takes to build something totally new?
Oh, yeah. Because most startups fail.
Exactly. Frank H. Knight addressed this in his 1921 work, Risk, Uncertainty, and Profit.
This is where it gets really interesting for founders. Risk versus uncertainty.
Right. Knight made a crucial distinction between manageable risk and unquantifiable uncertainty.
Like risk is a casino knowing the statistical odds of roulette.
Right.
It can be quantified and insured against.
Exactly. But pure economic profit, those massive venture-level returns that founders seek, that is the direct reward for braving unquantifiable uncertainty.
So if you're building a startup in a totally unproven market, you actually deserve that massive margin because you are navigating the unknown. And once you finally set that price, it acts like a signal. I love Friedrich A. Hayek's perspective on this in Individualism and Economic Order.
Oh, it's brilliant.
He compares a price tag to a glowing communication signal in a decentralized network.
Yeah, Hayek realized that no central planner could possibly know all the economic data in the world. So prices act as this instant global communication network.
Like if a copper mine floods, the price of copper goes up.
Right. And that higher price instantly signals millions of engineers globally to conserve copper or use alternatives like aluminum, and it incentivizes miners to dig more.
And all of that happens without a single memo being sent. It's just the price tag doing the communicating.
Exactly. We also have to factor in Milton Friedman's price theory, which connects price to output, and Stephen E. Landsberg's work, which just hammers home that people respond to incentives.
Yeah, opportunity costs.
Right. If you underprice your software, you pay for it in non-monetary ways.
Yeah.
Like being overwhelmed by terrible customer support queues because you attracted low-intent users.
But, pure economics assumes humans are these rational calculators.
And we definitely are not.
We are not. So we have to look at the psychology of pricing. Dan O'Reilly's book, Predictably Irrational, is mind-blowing on this front.
Oh, his experiments are legendary.
He talks about the zero price effect. If you drop the price of a luxury chocolate from 15 cents to 14 cents, demand changes, slightly.
Right.
But if you drop the price of a standard chocolate from 1 cent to 0, making it free demand creates this massive disproportionate spike.
Because free removes all emotional risk of making a bad decision.
Exactly. Airlie also unpacks anchoring, where the first price a buyer sees becomes this permanent baseline in their mind.
Yeah, anchoring is huge. And decoy pricing, where you introduce a slightly worse option just to make your main high-margin option look like a total bargain.
So we have economics, we have psychology, and finally we have the law.
Yes, the legal architecture.
Richard A. Posner's economic analysis of law argues that legal contracts, liability caps, and SLAs actually act as implicit prices on behavior.
So when you synthesize all of this, the economics, the psychology, the law, We arrive at Madhavan Ramanujam and Georg Talk's definitive rule in monetizing innovation.
Which is?
You must calculate a customer's willingness to pay before you even write a single line of code.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means that when you sit down to price your product, you aren't just doing some downstream accounting.
No, you are wielding psychology, legal strategy, and literally centuries of economic theory.
Which brings us to the really big practical question. How do we actually pick that first number?
Right. Setting your day one price. The price framework.
Let's get into it.
To set your day one price, Dr. Gupta says we have to start by completely rejecting the defaults.
What are the defaults?
The two most common mistakes founders make are traditional cost-plus pricing and competitive anchoring.
Okay, let's break those down. Cost plus is where you take your internal expense, say it costs $10 to make a widget, and you add a 20% margin on top, so you charge $12. Why is that flawed?
Because the customer does not care about your costs at all.
Right.
They only care about their value. If that $10 widget saves a factory $1,000 an hour, pricing it at $12 is a massive failure of value capture.
You're leaving so much money on the table.
Exactly. And competitive anchoring, which is basically blindly copying your competitor's price, is just as dangerous.
Why?
It assumes your competitor actually knows what they're doing, which honestly they usually don't.
That's a good point.
Plus, it entirely ignores your unique product differentiation.
So if we throw those out, what's the alternative for day one?
Value-based monetization, specifically calculating the economic value to the customer, or EVC.
EVC, okay.
The math here is brilliant in its simplicity. EVC equals the reference value plus the differentiated value.
Okay, let's make this tangible for the listener. Give me a real-world example of EVC.
Let's say a mid-sized company currently spends $100,000 a year paying clerks to do manual data entry. That $100,000 is the reference value. It's the cost of their current alternative solution.
Got it.
Now, you build an AI software that entirely automates that data entry. But your software doesn't just save time. It also catches billing errors that uncover $20,000 in lost revenue.
Oh, nice.
That $20,000 is your differentiated value.
So $100,000 in saved labor plus $20,000 in new revenue. The total economic value to the customer, the EVC, is $120,000.
Exactly. And the golden rule of day one pricing, according to Startup Planes, is that your goal is to capture between 10% and 30% of that total EVC delivered.
Okay, so 10 to 30% of $120,000. That means charging anywhere from $12,000 to $36,000 for that software.
Yes. And that is perfectly aligned with the value you are delivering. You aren't guessing. You are reverse engineering the ROI.
That completely flips the script. To turn this into a repeatable process, Startup Planes developed the price framework.
Yeah, PRICE. Let's dig into this acronym.
What is P?
P stands for parameter identification. Before you even go to market, you must set absolute price floors to protect your unit economics.
So, guardrails.
Right. Startup Planes provide specific benchmarks. For SaaS and software, your gross margin floor must be at least 80%.
80%.
For physical consumer packaged goods, or CPG, it's 50%.
Okay.
And for tech-enabled services or consulting, it's 60%. If your initial pricing calculation doesn't hit those margins, your business model is fundamentally broken on day one.
You literally need to redesign the offering before you even launch.
Exactly. Now, R is return quantification, which is exactly what we just did, calculating that EVC of $120,000.
Right. So what about I?
I is incentive architecture.
Mm-hmm.
This is about structuring your tiers so that you align with the customer's success.
Meaning as they grow, you grow.
Yes. As the customer gets more value from your product over time, your revenue should automatically expand. You incentivize them to adopt the product deeply.
Okay. And C is customer discovery. Because you can't just calculate EVC in a vacuum, right? You have to talk to the actual market.
You do. But here's the trap. If you just ask someone, what would you pay for this? They will always lowball you.
Because they want a deal.
Exactly. Which is why Startup Planes recommends the Van Westendorp price sensitivity meter.
Van Westendorp? What is that?
It's a formal model where you ask target buyers 4 specific questions to map their psychological boundaries.
Okay, what are the questions?
1. At what price is this a bargain? 2. At what price is it getting expensive, but you'd still consider it? 3. At what price is it so cheap you would question the quality?
Ah, there's that signaling again.
Right. And 4. At what price is it prohibitively expensive?
So when you plot those four answers on a graph, they intersect to create this narrow, safe range of acceptable prices.
Yes, it completely removes the guesswork.
And finally, the E in the price framework, experimental validation.
Because as much as we love survey data from the C step, people lie on surveys.
Oh, all the time.
Experimental validation means testing assumptions with real payment commitments, getting them to put a credit card down.
Because you don't have product market fit until money actually changes hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Navigating this day one pricing journey requires immense psychological resilience from the founder.
Yeah, you are going to face rejection. You are going to second guess yourself.
Always. Which is why the source material curates this incredible symphony of founder wisdom. It maps exactly what this journey feels like.
It really is a masterclass in mindset. Let's explore that because it builds a complete philosophy of value creation.
It starts with recognizing the ultimate goal. Warren Buffett famously said that pricing power is the single most important decision in evaluating a business.
Right. If you can raise prices without losing customers, you have a great business.
But you don't get pricing power without fundamental value. As Peter Drucker noted, quality is not what you put into a product. It is what the customer gets out of it.
And to figure out what they will get out of it, you have to follow Steve Jobs' advice. You have to get so close to your customers that you tell them what they need before they realize it themselves.
Yeah, that intimate knowledge leads to product market fit, which Mark Andreessen highlights as the singular most important factor for startup survival.
But reaching product market fit requires intense iteration. Elon Musk argues that if things are not failing, you are not innovating enough.
Right. And if we apply that to pricing, if 100% of prospects say yes to your first price, you haven't succeeded. You've just priced it terribly low.
You left money on the table, which connects to Reid Hoffman's famous rule. If you aren't embarrassed by the first version of your product, you launch too late.
Exactly. You don't need a perfectly polished product to charge money. You just need to solve a specific pain point.
Like Paul Graham says, it's better to make something a few people intensely love than something a broad audience just kind of likes.
Seth Godin mirrors this perfectly. Don't find customers for your products. Find products for your customers. Build around their exact monetizable pain.
And when you are gathering data on that pain, you have to be empirical. W. Edwards Deming said, "In God we trust, all others must bring data."
Right. Because if you just ask customers openly what they want, well, Henry Ford said it best. They would have asked for faster horses.
That is why you must test actual purchasing intent early. Sam Altman reminds us that a startup is an entity designed to grow fast.
But Vinod Khosla warns that if you don't think about monetization from day zero, you basically build a house of cards.
Yeah, if you ignore unit economics early on, you face the nightmare scenario Ben Horowitz talks about. The hardest thing isn't setting a big goal. The hardest thing is having to lay your friends off when your pricing couldn't sustain the business.
So true. So you build a product, you productize yourself like Naval Ravikant says, and then you hit a strategic fork in the road. Do you price high or low?
Michael Porter teaches that the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Trying to be the cheapest option for everyone is a race to the bottom.
And Jim Collins says, good is the enemy of great. Settling for low margins early on kills your long-term potential to build a great company.
Disruption, as Clayton Christensen points out, is a process. You start in a niche, price specifically for that niche, and expand outward.
But when you inevitably get pushback on your high prices, you apply Ray Dalio's formula. Pain plus reflection equals progress. You analyze why you lost the deal.
Like Satya Nadella urges us, we have to be learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls.
Right. But eventually, you have to actually launch the price. Sheryl Sandberg reminds us that done is better than perfect.
And Eric Ries adds that the only way to win in a modern startup is to learn faster than anyone else.
Build something 100 people love, as Brian Chesky advises, and price it fairly.
When communicating that price, you have to remember Daniel Kahneman's behavioral economics. Humans are driven by loss aversion.
Yes. Don't just pitch what they will gain. Frame your value around the massive financial losses your software prevents them from suffering.
And if someone rejects your fair price, don't panic. Richard Branson says business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming.
Howard Schultz notes that in adversity like losing a big deal over price, you find out who your true loyal customers actually are.
To win those true customers over, Alex Hormozy advises making your core offer so overwhelmingly good they feel stupid saying no.
Patrick Collison favors fast execution on a mediocre idea over slow execution on a great one. So get that pricing page live.
But Stuart Butterfield warns that adding features makes the product harder to use for those who don't care about them, so keep your pricing tiers remarkably clean.
And when it's time to sell, Phil Knight says don't tell your team how to do things. Empower them and let them surprise you with results.
Sundar Pichai says to wear your failure as a badge of honor when pricing experiments go wrong.
Jack Ma reminds us to never give up because today's hard, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine.
All of this tastes balance. Sun Tzu warned that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, and tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat.
You must educate your buyers because, as Benjamin Franklin said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest.
And Zig Ziglar's core truth applies perfectly to value-based pricing. You can get everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Dale Carnegie notes that action breeds confidence. Maya Angelou reminds us that people will never forget how you made them feel during the sales process.
You must be resilient like Nassim Nicholas Taleb's fire that is energized by the wind.
Guy Kawasaki warns that implementation is hard, but as Jeffrey Moore outlined, you must cross the chasm by focusing intensely on a specific niche first.
When you enter negotiations, remember Chris Voss? No is just the start of the negotiation, not the end.
Build a differentiated product because Peter Thiel notes monopoly is the condition of every successful business.
And finally, Simon Sinek reminds us that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
It is an incredibly powerful compilation of thought. But, bringing it back to Dr. Gupta's core mechanics for day one pricing, he has some very strict, pragmatic rules that ground all this philosophy.
Yes, let's talk about the decline rate. Dr. Gupta says that if everyone buys your initial offer without hesitation, you have mispriced it.
Exactly. He states that roughly 20% to 30% of fully qualified prospects should decline your product based purely on price.
Wait, really? You want to lose a third of your deals?
Yeah, if you aren't losing at least 20% of your deals, your price is too low. You are leaving massive value on the table.
That is so counterintuitive, but makes perfect sense. What about discounting? Because early founders, they love to hand out discounts just to get logos on the website.
Dr. Gupta views discounting as a weak fix for weak sales conversations. His rule is simple. Never drop the price without changing the scope.
Meaning?
If a prospect demands a 20% discount, you don't just cave. You say, I can meet that budget, but we have to remove premium support and API access.
You trade value for value.
Exactly. And regarding free tiers, he states unequivocally, freemium is an acquisition mechanism. It is not a pricing strategy.
To ensure founders execute this cleanly, the Startup Planes ecosystem has this massive 15-point frugal founders checklist for day one pricing. Now, instead of listing all 15, let's dig deeply into the 3 most counterintuitive points.
Sure.
First, the absolute prohibition on unlimited tiers. Why are they so dangerous?
An unlimited tier sounds great for marketing, right?
Right.
But it destroys unit economics.
Wow.
If you offer, say, unlimited cloud storage for a flat $50 a month, 90% of your users will use a normal amount, but 10% will use it to host massive enterprise databases.
Oh, and they just eat all your server costs.
Yes. Their server costs will literally bankrupt you. You must always have a capacity cap to force heavy users to upgrade.
Another point that stood out from the checklist, cap annual upfront discounts at 20%. A lot of companies offer like 40% off if you pay for a whole year upfront.
Think about what an annual discount actually is. You only offer it to secure cash flow today, rather than waiting 12 months. That is essentially taking a loan from your customer.
Right.
If you give a 40% discount, your cost of capital on that loan is astronomically high. Capping it at 15 to 20% balances your cash flow needs with margin protection.
That is such a smart way to frame it. And the final one I want to explore from the checklist, no free consulting, charge for onboarding.
Founders often spend like 20 hours helping a new client configure the software for free just to ensure they use it.
Because they're desperate for the retention.
Right. But free consulting devalues your time, and it trains the customer to expect endless free support. Charging a one-time onboarding fee forces the client to commit resources and take the implementation seriously.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical. Let's look at how Dr. Gupta actually applies these day one strategies in the real world.
Let's do it.
I'm going to throw some specific global case studies at you from the source material. These are real strategic dilemmas from the global hotline for the first launch.
Let me.
First scenario. Let's apply this to a founder in Austin, Texas. I'm building a B2B SaaS tool for mid-market logistics companies. My cloud server costs are roughly $15 an account. My main competitor charges $199 a month. My gut instinct is to price my software at $29 to completely undercut them and steal the market. Why is that a terrible idea?
Because it is a massive cost-plus pricing mistake. Undercutting your competitor by 85% does make you look like a savvy disruptor.
What do I do?
It sends a psychological signal to logistics directors that your software is fragile, unreliable, or missing critical enterprise features.
Ah, the cheap sports car again.
Exactly. If your software saves a trucking dispatcher 10 hours a week and their time is worth $30 an hour, you are delivering $1,200 in monthly value. Price your plan confidently at $149 or $199. Compete on speed, user experience, and integrations, not by being the bargain bin option.
Let's jump to Stockholm, Sweden. I'm a health tech founder. HR directors absolutely love our corporate wellness dashboard, but they stall and hesitate the second they see the $25,000 annual enterprise contract. Should I offer a free tier just to get them integrated into the system?
No free tiers for enterprise clients, ever. Free tiers do not shorten corporate procurement cycles. They just invite low-intent users who will drain your support team.
So what's the play?
Dr. Gupta advises offering a structured 90-day paid pilot program for $5,000. You set clear, mutually agreed-upon success metrics. If the pilot hits those metrics, you credit that $5,000 toward the full $25,000 contract.
Oh, that's smart. It lowers their perceived risk, gets you past the stalling phase, and preserves your overall contract value.
Exactly.
What about Mumbai, India? I'm launching an edtech platform aimed at professional developers. Competitors charge 10,000 rupees. I want to charge 999 rupees to get 100,000 students instantly. Is volume the right play in a massive market like India?
It is a volume trap. Low prices in professional education actually lead to incredibly low psychological commitment from the student.
Because they didn't pay enough to care.
Right. They buy it, never log in, and you suffer low completion rates and high support costs. Set your core price at 4,999 or 7,999 rupees. Force the student to invest in themselves.
And the higher margin helps the business too.
It allows you to afford live mentorship and code reviews, which leads to better job placements. And better job placements drive genuine, high-value word-of-mouth growth.
Moving to Melbourne, Australia. Fintech founder here. We automate invoice reconciliation for accounting firms. Should we charge a flat $500 a month or a percentage fee per invoice processed?
You must tie pricing to usage. If you charge a flat $500 monthly subscription, you flatten your revenue curve.
Right, because if they process 1 million invoices, I still only get $500.
Exactly. When that accounting firm lands a massive new client and processes 10 times more invoices through your system, they get all the extra value, but you still only make $500. Dr. Gupta recommends a hybrid model.
What does that look like?
A low base fee of $49 a month to cover baseline hosting, plus a micro-usage fee per reconciled invoice. As they process more, your revenue grows automatically alongside their success.
Let's go to Dublin, Ireland. We have a wildly popular open-source database tool for developers. We want to launch a paid cloud version. How do we transition free users into paying customers without a total revolt?
You have to separate the open-source tools from enterprise management. Keep the core database engine completely free for individual developers. They are your champions.
Okay, so what do they pay for?
Put security features, single sign-on, automated backups, and compliance logs behind your paid cloud tier. Developers will prototype on the free version locally, but the moment they deploy to a production environment, corporate procurement will gladly pay for the managed, secure cloud.
São Paulo, Brazil. We are building a B2B marketplace connecting organic farmers directly with high-end restaurants. Do I charge the farmers a monthly fee to list their produce, or do I take a commission from the restaurants?
Keep it free for the supply side. Never charge the farmers a listing fee during an early launch.
Because you need the inventory.
Right. It creates immense friction and throttles your inventory growth. Without inventory, restaurants won't use the app. Instead, take a 10 to 15% commission from the buyer, the restaurant, on successful transactions. You only monetize at the exact point where tangible value is created.
Toronto, Canada. Cybersecurity platform. A massive, recognizable Fortune 500 brand wants our $30,000 threat detection software, but their procurement team demands a flat 40% discount to sign. Do I cave just to get their logo on my website?
Never give an unscoped flat discount. If you just drop the price to $18,000 because they asked, you signal that your original $30,000 price was entirely made up.
You lose all credibility.
Exactly. Protect your lift price. If their budget is strictly $18,000, tell them, we can meet that budget, but we have to remove the 247 SLA response times and the custom API integrations. Change the scope to justify the price reduction.
Nairobi, Kenya. Agritech. We build IoT soil sensors for farmers. The physical hardware costs $120 to manufacture. Do we sell it outright or do we lease it?
An upfront $120 capital expense is a massive barrier to entry for smallholder farmers in emerging markets. Shift your model to hardware as a service, or HaaS.
HAA, yeah.
Charge a nominal $20 setup fee, and then a $15 per month subscription. That subscription covers the physical device, the cellular data connection, and the analytics dashboard. You dramatically lower the adoption barrier while building a stable, recurring revenue engine.
London, UK, PropTech. We built an AI management tool for commercial landlords. Do I list all my prices publicly on the website or hide everything behind a book a demo button to force a sales call?
You do a hybrid. Publicly list your small and medium business tiers. If a manager has a 50,000 square foot building, let them see instantly that it costs £299 a month.
And the big guys?
Hide the enterprise tiers behind book a demo. If they manage a massive skyscraper complex, direct them to a custom sales motion. Hiding everything just creates infuriating friction for mid-market buyers who just need to check if you fit their budget.
Last day one scenario. Seoul, South Korea. We are launching a direct-to-consumer functional beverage. It costs 80 cents to manufacture a can. Standard sodas in the store are $2. Should we price it $2.50 or go premium at $4.99?
Go premium at $4.99. Pricing at $2.50 puts you in a bloody, unwinnable price war with mass-market soda conglomerates. They will squeeze your margins to nothing.
Right.
Pricing at $4.99 actively positions you in the premium health and wellness category. It yields an 80% margin, which you desperately need to pay for customer acquisition costs, retail sliding fees to get on the shelves, and high-end marketing.
That is incredibly practical advice for day one. So you've set your price, you've launched, and you've secured your first cohort of customers. But as we transition into monetization scaling, a massive new problem emerges.
The scaling track.
Exactly. Let's say a customer adopts your software, their usage increases tenfold over a year, but because they're on that day one flat rate, they still pay you the exact same amount. How do we prevent getting trapped by our own success?
That flat rate trap is where so many growth stage startups bleed potential revenue. They keep their rigid day one pricing architecture, while their enterprise customers extract massive expanding value. Dr. Gupta notes that if your revenue per customer remains flat while their usage 10x's, you're fundamentally failing to capture expanding utility.
So how do we fix it? We clearly can't just call them up and ask for more money without a mechanism in place.
You fix it by choosing the correct value metrics from the start. A value metric dictates a unit of scale that triggers a price increase.
Okay, what are the categories?
There are three main categories. First, user-based metrics like standard per seat pricing. This is best for collaborative software where the utility genuinely grows as more of the team joins.
Like Slack.
Exactly. Second, usage-based metrics like charging per API call or per gigabyte of storage. This is best for infrastructure and data products.
Okay, and the third?
Outcome-based metrics like taking a percentage of the revenue generated through the platform. This is highly effective for fintech or ad tech.
And a strong metric has to balance three things, right? It has to be predictable, so the client can forecast their budget. It must be highly correlated to the actual value they receive, and it needs low measurement friction, so you aren't constantly fighting over billing audits.
Exactly. And to manage this transition, Startup Planes provides the scale model. Let's unpack the SCALE acronym.
What's the S?
S is segmentation analysis. You stop treating all customers the same and start grouping cohorts by their specific willingness to pay and feature usage.
C is capacity-based tiers. This solves the unlimited tier problem we discussed earlier. You set hard feature caps, like a maximum of 1,000 contacts in a CRM, so heavy users naturally hit a wall and have to upgrade. What is A?
A is expansion alignment. This is designing modular add-ons and cross-sells. You keep the base platform affordable, but if they want advanced reporting or custom branding, that is a separate add-on fee.
I see.
L is localization, which means adjusting your prices for international purchasing power parity, which we're going to cover very deeply in a few minutes.
And finally, E is evaluation, constantly tracking your net revenue retention, or NRR. Dr. Gupta is incredibly strict on this metric, isn't he?
Oh, very strict. He says a healthy scaling startup's NRR must exceed 120%.
Break down NRR for the listener real quick.
Right. NRR measures what your existing customers do over time. An NRR of 120% means that even if you lose some customers to churn, the customers who stay are expanding their usage and spending so much more that your baseline revenue from that cohort still grows by 20% year over year.
It is the holy grail of SaaS valuation.
It really is. But Dr. Gupta also warns against lazy scaling. For example, he explicitly warns against using per-seat pricing if the software creates shared organizational value.
Give me an example of that trap.
If you charge per seat for an analytics dashboard, the company doesn't need every employee to have a unique workspace. They'll just create one generic login like admin@company.com and share the password across the entire team.
And they totally destroy your revenue model.
Exactly. Instead, you charge based on the volume of data processed and give them unlimited seats for free to encourage platform stickiness.
Let's make this abstract theory deeply tangible. The source material features this amazing lightning round of 20 massive startup case studies.
This is my favorite part.
Let's really dig into the mechanisms of how these giants executed their specific pricing metrics to achieve scale. First up, Slack.
Slack utilized a brilliant mechanism called fair billing. They charged on a per-seat basis, but if a user went inactive for a certain number of days, Slack automatically prorated the account and issued a credit back to the company.
That is so smart. It completely eliminated procurement friction because IT directors knew they would never pay for dead seats.
Exactly. HubSpot.
Multi-tier gating. HubSpot captured the massive top-of-funnel market by giving away a robust CRM entirely for free.
But the moment you wanted to automate your marketing emails to those contacts, you hit a steep paywall tied to contact volume tiers. The free CRM was basically a Trojan horse for their paid automation.
Bravo.
The storage bottleneck freemium model. They gave away 2 gigabytes for free, which was enough to hook users, and incentivized viral sharing to earn a little more space.
Invite a friend, get 100 megs.
Right. But eventually, users hit a hard cap. Upgrading was seamless because moving all those personal files to a new service was just too painful. They monetized convenience and switching costs.
Netflix.
Value unbundling. They transitioned away from flat DVD rentals and scaled streaming revenue by tiering based on concurrent streams and video resolution. If you wanted 4K quality for your new TV, you had to upgrade. Eventually, they added ad-supported tiers to capture highly price-sensitive segments.
Zoom.
The 40-minute friction limit. They offered high-quality one-on-one calls for free. But the moment a free user hosted a group meeting, it rigidly cut off at 40 minutes.
It caused just enough embarrassment in internal corporate meetings that employees became champions, demanding that IT buy corporate licenses.
Exactly.
Stripe. The transparent flat API. Before Stripe, merchant accounts had these opaque, predatory pricing structures. Stripe disrupted the entire industry by offering a completely transparent, flat 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction.
It made developer integration mathematically predictable and totally frictionless.
Snowflake.
The pure consumption split. They radically unbundled storage costs from compute processing costs. In Snowflake, you only consume expensive compute credits when your database queries are actively executing. It aligns the cost perfectly with active utility.
Canva.
Asset gating. They provided an incredibly powerful design tool for free, but locked premium images, transparent backgrounds, and brand kits behind micropayments or a pro subscription. The tool is free, the finishing touches cost money.
Figma.
Or exceeding. Figma allowed non-designers like product managers and copywriters free view and comment access. This drove massive viral enterprise-wide adoption.
And once the whole company was reliant on it.
They strictly enforced paid seat licenses for the actual editors. The supply-demand split. To build inventory, they charged property hosts very low listing fees, removing friction for supply. They then shifted the monetization burden to the guests, charging higher service fees upon booking when intent to pay was highest. Dynamic surge pricing. They use real-time algorithmic multipliers to artificially raise prices during peak demand. This wasn't just to gouge riders. The higher price was the economic signal needed to incentivize more drivers to get on the road and increase supply exactly when it was needed.
Spotify.
Offline friction. Free users can listen to everything, but they suffer through ads and are forced into shuffle mode. The premium tier simply unlocks the friction, allowing offline downloads and specific track selection. They monetize the removal of annoyance.
AWS, Amazon Web Services.
Utility pricing. AWS modeled their cloud pricing exactly like an electric bill. pay-as-you-go infrastructure per gigabyte and compute hour. As a startup scales, AWS scales its revenue automatically, but they offer reserved instance volume discounts to lock in big clients.
MailChimp.
Post-scaling, they offered a legendary free tier for up to 2,000 subscribers, effectively capturing an entire generation of early creators. But as those creators grew their businesses and their email lists expanded, the pricing scaled aggressively alongside their success.
Motion.
Blocks to seats. Initially, they limited free users by how many blocks of content they could create. But they realized that hindered adoption. They removed individual block limits entirely and instead shifted the paywalls to team collaboration features, permission controls, and SSO.
Datadog.
Infrastructure units. They charge a relatively low base monitoring fee per server host, say $15, but they heavily meter and monetize custom metrics, log retention, and advanced synthetic monitoring as separate usage streams.
Intercom.
Modular add-ons. They use a low base communication fee to get on your website, but charge significant premium add-ons for AI resolution bots, help desk extensions, and advanced product tours. You literally build your own price. API call volume. They charge fintech apps per connected bank account and per API data request. As the fintech apps they power grow their user bases, Plaid rides that exact same growth curve passively.
Twilio.
Micrometering. They charge fractions of a single cent per SMS message or voice minute. It drastically lowers the barrier for developers to test the API, but scales into massive enterprise contracts once the application hits production volume.
And finally, Salesforce.
The classic seat tiers. You can get into their core CRM at a reasonable entry price per seat, but if you want advanced reporting, custom API access, or sandbox environments, you're forced to upgrade every single seat in your organization to a much higher price enterprise tier.
Okay, that was an intense masterclass in pricing mechanics, but it perfectly illustrates how the scale model operates in reality. Let's transition to the global hotline again, this time focusing on growth stage ventures hitting scaling roadblocks.
These are the growing pains every successful startup eventually faces. Let's hear them.
Calling from Berlin, Germany. We run a DevOps platform. We have 500 companies happily paying our flat $99 a month plan. The problem is 5% of those companies are scaling so fast, they are consuming 80% of our server costs. We are literally losing money on our best customers. Help.
You need to transition to a hybrid model immediately. You honor the $99 base tier for everyone, but you introduce a strict cap on the included compute hours.
And if they go over?
Anything over that cap incurs transparent overage rates, or they can upgrade to a new $499 growth tier. You give those heavy users 60 days advance notice to adjust their usage or budgets.
Singapore HR Tech. We're expanding rapidly into Vietnam and Indonesia. Do we charge the exact same standard USD prices there as we do in Singapore?
Absolutely not. Charging uniform USD rates ignores the reality of local purchasing power. A standard sauce price that feels cheap in Singapore will entirely blow out the IT budget of a mid-sized firm in Vietnam. You must apply localized, tiered pricing anchored to the local economy to capture market share.
Toronto EdTech. Selling software to school districts takes 12 months. It's the end of our fiscal quarter, and the board wants revenue. Should I offer a district a massive 40% discount just to close the deal today?
Resist fiscal discounting at all costs.
Because let's match it next time.
Yes. Institutional buyers and procurement teams learn those patterns rapidly. If you discount at the end of Q3, they will always wait you out in Q4. Instead of cutting the core software license fee, offer to bundle in free training sessions or waive the initial setup fees. You add value to close the deal without permanently degrading your core price point.
Bangalore Supply Chain Software. Our biggest enterprise clients keep demanding hyper-specific custom features. Do I build them into the main product to keep them happy or charge them engineering fees?
It depends on the utility. If the requested feature benefits your broader user base, prioritize it and build it into the core roadmap.
And if it's just for them?
If it's a hyper-specific legacy ERP integration just for them, you decouple it. You charge them high-margin professional engineering services fees to build it, ensuring it doesn't distract your core product team from the main vision.
Chicago Procurement Tech. We just built an incredible new enterprise analytics module. Do we bundle it into the top tier to make that tier more valuable, or sell it as an unbundled add-on for everyone?
Look at the target user. If the analytics have broad appeal and utility for your small and medium businesses, unbundle it as an add-on so anyone can buy it. If the module is heavily focused on enterprise compliance and audit logging, you bundle it exclusively into the top tier to act as a forced upgrade trigger for mid-market clients.
Paris e-commerce marketplace. We currently charge a flat 1% commission on all orders, but our fastest growing, highest volume brands are threatening to leave because their monthly bill is getting astronomically high as they scale.
Pure percentage models eventually penalize scale. You need to introduce volume-based tiering caps. For example, 1% on the first 100K in GMV, 0.5% on the next 400K, and 0.2% on anything above that. Alternatively, offer them a high fixed monthly platform fee in exchange for a drastically reduced transaction rate. Retain the high-volume client by capping their pain.
Tokyo cybersecurity. We have legacy users who have been paying $49 a month since we launched 3 years ago. The new product price is $149. How do we move them over to the new price without them quitting in anger?
You use phased grandfathering. Do not just hike the price overnight. Send them a communication giving them 90 days notice. Highlight all the incredible new features and value you've added over the last 3 years.
Soften the blow.
Right. Then offer them a transitional loyalty rate, like $89 a month for the next 12 months, before they eventually hit the full list price.
Tel Aviv FinTech. We process API payments. Should we offer volume tiers with lower per-transaction fees for massive whale clients?
Yes. High-volume merchants operate on razor-thin margins. If your fees don't scale down as their volume scales up, they will build their own internal solution or move to a competitor. Transparent volume tiers allow you to trade high-margin percentages for massive overall payment volume and revenue stability.
Madrid PropTech. We build software for property management firms. Do we charge per property unit managed in the system or per property manager using the software?
Always charge per property unit. If you charge per seat, the managers will simply share a single login to save money, and you lose. Charging per unit managed aligns your revenue directly with the exact economic value of their growing real estate portfolio.
Sydney Sauce. We are launching a new self-serve tier. Should we force users to input a credit card to access the 14-day free trial?
It depends entirely on your product's time to value. A credit card up front acts as a severe friction filter for high-intent users, reducing your total number of trials, but drastically increasing the conversion rate of those who do try.
So when you not use it?
If your product delivers instant aha value in 5 minutes, require the card. If it requires a complex 3-day setup integration just to see the value, remove the credit card requirement and use a heavy onboarding email sequence to guide them to value first.
That distinction makes so much sense. Now, as startups scale and move upmarket, the rules change entirely.
It's a whole new game.
Selling to a Fortune 500 company isn't just selling more stuff. It's selling to a completely different psychological profile. The SMB buyer cares about ease of use, speed, and price. But the enterprise buyer prioritizes risk mitigation, compliance, and above all, not getting fired for buying your software.
Dr. Gupta puts it perfectly. Enterprise software pricing is rarely a measurement of feature count. It's a pricing of enterprise risk and compliance overhead. They're paying massive premiums for operational guarantees and peace of mind.
The source material outlines the enterprise packaging pyramid to illustrate this. At the very top, you have governance and compliance, things like SOC2 reports, detailed audit logs, and data residency guarantees. Then you have security, which includes SAML, SSO, and role-based access control. And finally, operational continuity, 99.99% SLAs, and dedicated customer success managers.
And you must gate these enterprise features strictly. Never, ever give SAML or SSO away on a cheap SMB tier.
Let's pause there because I want to explain why that is so crucial. SSO stands for single sign-on. Why is a Fortune 500 company willing to pay triple the price just for that one feature?
Because of enterprise risk. If an enterprise has 10,000 employees using 50 different software apps and an employee is fired, the IT department cannot manually log into 50 apps to delete that person's access. It's a massive security vulnerability.
Right.
SSO allows the IT department to click one single button in their central directory, and it instantly revokes that ex-employee's access across all 50 apps simultaneously. Identity management is the primary operational trigger that forces enterprise procurement to upgrade to the enterprise contract. You monetize their need for control.
To navigate these high-stakes negotiations, Startup Planes created the enterprise model. Let's break down this massive acronym.
Let's do it.
E is Enterprise Risk Audit. You have to map their legal and compliance requirements before quoting a price. E is non-negotiable core, knowing your absolute margin price floors so you don't sign a loss-leading mega deal. E is trade-off matrix, the rule of never giving a discount without reducing the scope of the software. And E is escalation architecture.
Let's focus on escalation architecture for a second. This means actively building 3% to 5% annual price increases directly into multi-year enterprise contracts to protect yourself against inflation and rising cloud costs.
Okay, moving on. ARI is risk shift allocation monetizing custom SLAs and liability caps. P is professional services decoupling custom setup and engineering fees from the core software license.
Right, keep them separate.
R is procurement alignment matching their rigid fiscal budget cycles. R is implementation milestones, tying your cash payments to technical deliverables rather than just dates on a calendar. Ours is multi-year security offering modest calculated discounts if they lock in for 3 or 5 years. And the final E is expansion triggers contract clauses that automatically upgrade their account tier when they exceed usage limits, so you don't have to renegotiate.
Dr. Gupta's insights on SLAs are fascinating here. An SLA, or a service level agreement, guarantees a certain amount of uptime. He says an SLA is a premium revenue driver, not merely a legal liability document. If a massive bank wants a guarantee of 99.99% uptime, you don't just say, sure, you charge a 30% price premium for it.
Because meeting that level of uptime requires your engineering team to build redundant cloud infrastructure and provide 24/7 on-call support, you have to monetize the cost of delivering that guarantee.
Exactly.
He also insists on a strict 15% discount authorization matrix. Any discount requested over 15% must physically escalate to the VP of sales or the CEO. It prevents rogue sales reps from destroying your margins just to hit their end-of-month quota.
Let's see this high-stakes negotiation in action.
Global hotline, enterprise contracts, calling from London, fintech software. A Tier 1 global bank wants our software, but their legal team demands a 99.99% SLA with heavy financial penalties if we have any downtime. How do I price this risk?
Do not put this liability in your standard enterprise plan. You create a custom platinum tier with a 30 to 50% price premium to cover your infrastructure costs. And crucially, you cap the financial penalty credits at a maximum of 15% of the annual contract value. Never expose your entire year's revenue to a random server hiccup.
San Francisco AI startup. A Fortune 500 client wants to sign a $250,000 contract, but their procurement team insists on net 90 payment terms. We are a startup. We will literally run out of cash waiting 90 days for their check to clear.
Net 90 is a standard corporate cash preservation tactic. They're trying to hold on to their money longer. Counter it strategically. Offer a 2% prompt payment discount if they pay net 30.
And if they still refuse?
Tell them the price is $275,000 for net 90 to cover your financing costs, but $250 for net 30. If they still push back, use an enterprise invoice factoring firm to get the cash immediately.
Zurich MedTech. A global pharmaceutical firm loves our software but wants custom data residency. They mandate that their data must sit on private, isolated servers located physically within Switzerland.
Treat data residency as a premium architectural add-on. Charge your baseline enterprise software license, plus an explicit dedicated Data Vault add-on fee of $20,000 to $50,000 a year. It covers your localized cloud overhead and establishes clear value boundaries for bespoke architecture.
Frankfurt Cybersecurity. Our quoted enterprise price is 50,000 euros. Procurement comes back and says their departmental budget is strictly capped at 35,000 euros and demands a discount.
Apply the trade-off matrix. Trade budget caps for scope reductions. Say, we understand the budget constraint and we can meet 35,000 euros, but we have to remove dedicated customer success coverage and transition you to standard email ticketing. If you just drop the price 15,000 euros without removing value, you prove your pricing is totally arbitrary.
City Logistics. A massive enterprise wants to deploy our software across 10 global subsidiaries over the next 2 years. Do we try to sign 10 separate contracts?
No, that is an administrative nightmare. You use a single master services agreement, or MSA, that outlines the overarching legal terms, with separate per-subsidiary statements of work, or SOWs. The base platform license covers central governance, and you charge tiered deployment fees as each individual subsidiary activates.
NYC Data Analytics. We are closing a $150,000 deal. Their legal team sent back a 60-page red-lined MSA demanding unlimited liability for any data breaches.
Reject unlimited liability immediately. It is a company killer. Cap general breach of contract liability at 1x to 2x the annual contract value. For data breaches specifically, negotiate a hard cap like $1 million or $5 million. That is explicitly backed by your cybersecurity insurance policy limits. Never bet your entire company on one client's contract.
Tokyo HR Tech. Japanese corporations keep asking for 6-month unpaid trials to rigorously test the software before committing. It is completely killing our sales cycle.
Replace unpaid trials with 90-day paid proof of concepts. Unpaid trials lack executive urgency. They just sit on a desk. Charge $15,000 for 90-day PPUs with strict, documented success metrics. If the software hits those metrics, you credit the $15,000 toward the year one enterprise contract. It filters out window shoppers.
Toronto supply chain. An enterprise prospect wants full 24-month exclusivity. They don't want us selling our software to any other automotive manufacturer. How do we even price that?
Exclusivity intentionally cripples your total addressable market. You have to price it against the total lost revenue you would have made selling to their competitors, require a massive minimum annual financial commitment, and put in strict performance thresholds that they must hit to maintain that exclusivity clause.
Dubai PropTech. A client wants source code escrow rights before signing a $500,000 deal. They want a copy of our code in a vault just in case we go out of business. Is this normal?
Yes, for mission-critical enterprise platforms, it is standard. Agree to it, use a neutral third-party escrow service, but explicitly pass the escrow management costs, which are usually $3,000 to $5,000 a year, directly to the client. And tightly limit the release triggers to formal corporate bankruptcy, nothing else.
Bangalore AI. We are bidding on a fixed 5-year government tender. The rules say 0 price increases are allowed over the 5 years. How do we protect our margins against constantly rising AWS cloud compute costs?
Decouple the variable costs from the fixed costs. License the core software as a fixed fee, but structure the cloud compute as a variable pass-through cost, capped against AWS's official rate increases. If you aren't allowed to do that, you must build a massive 15 to 20% margin buffer into the initial year one bid to absorb future inflation.
These enterprise tactics are incredible, but they introduce a massively complex new variable. What happens when that enterprise contract crosses international borders? The source points out the immense friction of forcing a rigid US dollar price tag onto a developing market.
It's a huge error that costs companies millions. Global monetization forces you to navigate extreme differences in local purchasing power, foreign exchange volatility, payment gateway preferences, and complex cross-border taxes like EU VAT. Dr. Gupta is blunt here. If you ignore purchasing power parity, you are willfully ceding market share to local, correctly priced competitors.
Purchasing power parity, or PPP, it's the economic reality that $50 means something very different to a small business in San Francisco than it does to a small business in Jakarta.
Exactly. The global framework splits the world into 3 distinct economic tiers. High-income markets like the US, Switzerland, and the Nordics. Here, you charge your standard base rate, maybe even adding a 10 to 20% premium focused heavily on SLAs and security.
Okay, what's the next tier?
Mid-income markets like the UK, Japan, UAE. You use your standard benchmark pricing, but you must offer localized billing currencies to remove friction. Finally, emerging growth markets like India, Brazil, Indonesia. Here, you apply a 30% to 60% PPP discount off your base rate to drive high-volume, dominant adoption.
Let's walk through the global acronym for executing this correctly. G is geoeconomic assessment. L is local currency billing. This is crucial to eliminate foreign transaction fees for your buyers, which often cause credit cards to decline.
Right.
O is operational FX hedging to protect your revenue from sudden currency drops. B is border tax compliance. A is alternative gateways. L is localized packaging.
Dr. Gupta highlights some critical technical requirements to make this work. If you offer a 50% localized discount in India, people in the US will inevitably use VPNs to pretend they are in India and steal that rate.
Oh yeah, people do that all the time for streaming services.
Exactly. You must block VPN abuse by requiring local credit card bins, meaning the credit card itself must be issued by an Indian bank, or by verifying local business tax IDs during checkout.
He also stresses the necessity of alternative local payment gateways. If you only offer standard U.S. credit card processing in a country that relies heavily on digital bank transfers or cash vouchers, you will see massive cart abandonment. And he highly recommends using a merchant of record or more.
An order is vital. When you sell globally, you are technically liable for collecting and remitting local sales taxes in dozens of countries. A merchant of record is a third-party service that legally acts as the reseller of your software. They handle all the EU VAT, the global tax compliance, and the currency conversions, so you don't go to international tax jail.
This sounds like an operational minefield. Let's fire up the global hotline to see how to navigate international friction in the real world.
Okay, let's hear them.
Mexico City FinTech. We are expanding our Canadian sauce into Mexico. Our price is 100 Canadian dollars. But our conversions in Mexico are terrible. What's wrong?
Two things. First, you are overpricing based on the local economy. Implement a 45% PPP discount. Second, and crucially, integrate local payment methods like OXXO. OXXO is a system in Mexico where a user can print a voucher online, walk into a local convenience store, and pay for your software with physical cash. If you only rely on international credit cards in a cash-heavy economy, you will fail.
Amsterdam Martech. We're a European startup selling to U.S. enterprise clients. Do we bill them in euros or U.S. dollars?
Always bill U.S. enterprise clients in USD. Forcing U.S. procurement departments to process foreign currencies creates immense internal friction and accounting headaches for them. Use multi-currency treasury tools to receive USD directly and convert it to euros on your own time.
Mumbai DevOps. We get huge top-of-funnel signups from Southeast Asia and India at our standard $49 US price, but zero paid conversions. They all churn after the free trial.
49 USD is often the absolute ceiling of a developer's monthly budget in emerging economies. You need to introduce regional PPP pricing, maybe pricing it at 1,499 Indian rupees. And as we mentioned, use GS10 tax ID checks India's business tax registry to ensure Western buyers aren't using VPNs to access the rupee rate.
Warsaw Cybersecurity. How do we mathematically manage EU VAT when we are selling to both B2B corporations and B2C consumers across 27 different European countries?
It splits based on the buyer. For B2B corporate sales, you collect their valid VAT ID during checkout and apply the reverse charge mechanism at 0%, meaning they handle the tax on their end. For B2C consumer sales, you are legally required to charge the consumer specific local VAT rate based on their country. Use the EU VAT one-stop shop, the OSS scheme, or merchant of record to automate this massive compliance headache.
Jakarta e-commerce tool. Credit card adoption in Indonesia is historically very low, under 10%. How do we collect monthly recurring SaaS subscriptions without credit cards?
You must integrate local gateways, support virtual accounts, massive e-wallets like GoPay, and QRIS codes. QRIS is Indonesia's standardized QR payment system. Offer automated billing reminders linked directly to those local digital wallets instead of trying to auto-charge a non-existent credit card.
Toronto Health Tech. We just signed a massive UK hospital for £100,000 paid quarterly over 3 years. But the British pound just dropped 12% against the Canadian dollar. We are bleeding our profit margin on the exchange rate.
You must proactively hedge foreign exchange risk on multi-year international contracts. Use FX forward contracts with your corporate bank to lock in the exchange rates today for future payments. Or build clauses into the MSA allowing for price adjustments if exchange rates shift beyond a 5% corridor. Or simply mandate that international enterprise deals are billed in stable reserve currencies like USD.
Soul Gaming Startup. We want to enter the U.S. B2B market. Can we bill from our South Korean entity, or do we need to set up a U.S. company?
For early, low-cost, self-serve software, billing from South Korea via a merchant of record is fine. But if you are trying to close $50,000 enterprise accounts, U.S. buyers often require ACH wire transfers to domestic U.S. banks for vendor compliance. Open a Delaware C Corp specifically to simplify enterprise procurement and banking.
Lagos Logistics. Strict foreign exchange controls in Nigeria make it incredibly hard for our global clients to pay us USD into our local Nigerian bank accounts.
Route your international revenue through an offshore holding company in a Forex-friendly jurisdiction, like Delaware or the UK. Keep your operational entity and your team in Nigeria, but manage your global treasury and incoming USD offshore to bypass local capital controls.
London Legal Tech. Selling software to a firm in Australia. The client is randomly deducting a 10% withholding tax, or WHT, from our invoice before paying us. Is this legal?
Yes. Many countries require clients to withhold taxes on foreign software licenses. To counter this, add a gross-up clause to your global MSAs. It explicitly states that your quoted prices are net of any local taxes. If their government requires a 10% withholding tax, the client is legally required to increase their gross payment to you so that after the tax is deducted, you still receive the full contracted amount.
Sao Paulo Agritech. Brazilian corporate buyers desperately want our software, but Brazilian import taxes on foreign software are famously around 40%. It kills the deal.
You bypass it by localizing the entity. Form a local Brazilian operational subsidiary, known as a leitida. By licensing the software locally from a domestic entity to domestic buyers, you can bill in Brazilian real with local tax invoicing, entirely bypassing those crippling cross-border software import taxes.
All right, we are bringing it all together now. We have covered an astonishing amount of ground. You have your day one price, your scaling metrics, your enterprise SLAs, and your global localization strategy.
It's the whole stack.
But businesses evolve. The ultimate question is, how do you know when it's mathematically time to change the price?
First, you monitor your specific price elasticity of demand. Enterprise software and essential B2B utilities are highly inelastic, meaning you can raise prices by 10% and demand barely drops because the switching costs are too high.
And for consumers.
Consumer goods, however, are highly elastic. A small price hike can crater demand. We also watch for economic anomalies, like giffen goods, where prices go up, but incredibly poor consumers are forced to buy more of it because they can't afford the more expensive alternatives. Or Veblen goods luxury items like Rolexes, where raising the price actually increases demand because the high price itself is what signals status to the buyer.
So to make this practical for a founder, the source provides a clear directional matrix. When to definitively increase pricing versus when to decrease. Let's break that down.
You increase prices when your sales win rates exceed 50%. If you are winning more than half your deals, your software is way too cheap and no one is negotiating.
You're leaving money on the table again.
Exactly. You also increase prices when your gross margins fall below that 60 to 80% floor we discussed. And you absolutely increase prices when you've had massive feature inflation, meaning you've added dozens of new features over the years but haven't touched the price tag.
On the flip side, you decrease prices, or rather repackage them to lower the barrier when you suffer from high churn, when you are entering emerging markets via PPP, or when your core product is facing heavy commoditization from aggressive, low-cost disruptors.
Making these directional shifts requires a constant competitor pricing audit. You can't just look at their public pricing page and assume that's the truth. You have to reverse engineer their server margins. You have to literally mystery shop their sales teams to find out what their actual hidden enterprise discount caps are behind closed doors. Then you conduct a value gap analysis, comparing your current price against the actual quantifiable dollar value you deliver today.
Which brings us to the ultimate strategic debate for any founder, the choice between high pricing versus low pricing. Let's synthesize the trade-offs of both approaches.
High pricing is excellent because it drastically expands your gross margins, which generates the cash flow needed to fund R&D and provide white-glove customer support. It inherently signals brand quality and premium status. And psychologically, it naturally filters out low-intent, high-maintenance customers who drain your resources.
But the drawback?
Immense sales friction. High prices suppress top-of-funnel adoption and leave you vulnerable to a lean, low-cost disruptor entering the market from the bottom.
On the other side, low pricing drives rapid viral volume. It builds massive network effects quickly. It aggressively defends your market share against those upstarts.
But it is a dangerous game.
It exposes you to CAC inflation. If your customer acquisition costs rise on advertising platforms, your tiny margins will crush you. And paradoxically, low prices often attract the most demanding customers who eat up all your support resources while paying you the least.
Ultimately, the core thesis from Dr. Gupta and the Startup Planes ecosystem is that pricing is absolutely not a one-time launch event. It is a living, breathing, cross-functional operational discipline that requires constant monitoring and adjustment.
We have covered an incredible landscape today, from Adam Smith's invisible hand to the Van Westendorp meter, from day one EBC baselines to 99.99% enterprise SLAs, and even bypassing Brazilian import taxes. We have to send a massive thank you to Startup Planes and Dr. Shishir Gupta for providing these definitive masterclass blueprints.
It truly is a comprehensive playbook that bridges deep economic theory with brutal startup reality. But, connecting back to the very beginning of our deep dive, I will leave you with a final thought to mull over. We talked extensively about Frank H. Knight's concept in risk, uncertainty, and profit. He established that pure economic profit is the reward for taking on unquantifiable pricing uncertainty.
Right, the reward for venturing into the complete unknown.
So apply that framework to the technological shift happening right now. How does the current boom in generative AI change the very nature of pricing?
Oh, wow.
With traditional software, the output is a static, predictable feature. But with an AI agent, the output is highly variable, entirely uncertain, and dependent on the LLM's hallucination rate or the user's prompt quality.
Because it's not a fixed deliverable.
Exactly. How do you price the economic value of an AI agent when you can't guarantee what it will produce?
Yeah.
Do you charge per compute token, per successful task? It challenges the fundamental definition of unit economics that we've relied on for decades.
That is the new frontier. The diagnostic landscape of AI monetization is entirely uncharted territory. But at least now you have the foundational frameworks to start mapping it. Good luck exploring that uncertainty on your own. We will see you next time.